Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something big, a quiet financial revolution that could seriously reshape how we all think about money, wealth, and global power.
So it all kicks off with this idea. Something huge is happening, something that hasn't happened in modern history. And right at the center of it all? China. They've got a plan to quietly link their currency, the yuan, back to the oldest money on Earth, gold.
So why now? I mean, why go back to a metal that a lot of people thought was just a relic? To really get it, we have to rewind to this one single event back in 2022 that just sent a massive shockwave through the whole global financial system. Okay, so what happened was the US and its allies froze Russia's access to its foreign currency reserves. Now, politically, that was a huge move, but it also sent this unintentional but crystal clear message to every other country out there about the very real risks of keeping your wealth in US dollars. And this is the number that made everyone sit up and pay attention. $300 billion. The fact that a sum that massive could just be, switched off with a keystroke, that forced finance ministers all over the world to face a really uncomfortable question. And this is the question that changed everything. If the world's main reserve currency can be used as a weapon against a nuclear power, what does that mean for everybody else? It got a lot of countries looking for an alternative, right? An asset that couldn't be controlled or just taken by another country. And they landed on a very old answer: physical gold. All right, so that brings us to the first big piece of this puzzle: China's massive and very, very public gold buying spree. I mean, they're not just stocking up on gold, they're making sure the whole world sees them do it. For years now, China's central bank has been the biggest player in the market. But what's really fascinating here is how open they're being about it. Look, they could be buying all this gold secretly, but they're choosing not to. This is a deliberate signal. It's a message to other nations saying, hey, we've got the gold and we're building something new. Officially, the People's Bank of China says it's holding around 2,300 tons of gold in its reserves. Now, that's a huge amount, but it might just be the tip of the iceberg.
And as you can see here, that official number might not be the whole story. While the public figure is 2,300 tons, a lot of analysts think the real amount, the stuff held quietly in state-owned banks and sovereign funds, could be double that. We're talking closer to 5,000 tons. That suggests a strategy that is way, way bigger than what they're letting on. But, buying up a mountain of gold is just step one. Step two is where it gets really interesting. It involves building a whole new financial system around it, one that's designed to work completely outside of the Western system.
And the centerpiece of this whole thing is the Shanghai Gold Exchange. It's already the world's largest marketplace for physical gold. And that word physical is crucial. It means countries can trade and store actual gold bars, not just paper promises. It gives them a real, tangible asset they can actually trust. Okay, this next bit might sound a little technical, but trust me, it is a total game changer. New global banking rules just upgraded gold to what's called a Tier 1 asset. In simple terms, that means banks can now treat physical gold on their books just like cash. This one little change completely unlocks gold's power. It turns it from this static lump of metal into a dynamic financial tool. So here's how this all ties together. It's brilliant, really. A developing nation, let's say a country in Africa, can take its gold reserves and deposit them into the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Then China's development banks issue loans in yuan backed by that very same gold to fund things like new roads or ports. See, it's a closed loop that completely cuts out the IMF and the US dollar. So with China making these incredibly bold moves, you've got to ask, what's the West doing? How are they responding? Well, the signs suggest they are paying very close attention and making their own quiet moves on the chessboard. In a move that honestly didn't get a lot of headlines, the US has actually started bringing its own gold home from vaults overseas. The official reasons they gave were kind of vague, but the timing? You can't miss it. It really suggests that the US is also getting ready for a new reality, one where having physical possession of your gold is everything. So, why is having the actual physical gold suddenly so important? Well, the answer is pretty simple. In a system where gold is being used as direct physical collateral for loans and for trade, a piece of paper that says you own gold just isn't good enough anymore. You need the actual bars in your own vault. And just think about the sheer economic impact of this shift. If central banks all around the world follow these new rules and just increase their gold holdings by 10%,
Just 10%. That would create an estimated $2 trillion in new demand for an asset that you literally cannot print more of. That is a monumental, earth-shaking change.
So all of this is setting the stage for what could be a great divide in the global financial system. We seem to be heading towards a world with two fundamentally different ideas of what money should even be, and each one is competing for dominance.
On one side, you've got the vision from China and the BRICS nations, a system that's backed by something physical, something tangible, something ancient, gold. And on the other side, you have the West, which might fire back by leaning into its own strength, technology and digital assets like Bitcoin. So it's trust built over thousands of years versus trust built through math and code. You know, the financial chessboard is being reset. The pieces are already moving. We are literally witnessing a historic realignment. And this isn't just about economics. It's about the fundamental rules of money and power being rewritten for the 21st century. So what's the crucial takeaway here? It's this. The era of the US dollar being the unchallenged king of the hill, that might be coming to an end. Freezing Russia's assets was the catalyst, the thing that pushed China to create this gold-backed alternative. And the result could be a totally new financial world where ancient metals and modern code both play a massive, massive role. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. For the first time in our lifetimes, the very idea of what money is up for grabs. Governments might actually have to compete to offer the best, most trustworthy form of money. And the outcome of that contest? It's anything but certain.